My question is about volition. What is actually an act of will? For instance, if I say I'm doing something, like for instance, like coming to this retreat, I know that the I am is there. And the I am, from this point of view, is the one that is doing everything.
Yes.
However, there is also a doing things, like planning, for instance. What I see there is a mind doing something like looking for ways to go towards its source. Is that true, or what is going on here is a sort of Mary having a lucid dream?
Okay, so take infinite consciousness, and infinite consciousness localizes itself or contracts into each of our finite minds. So each of our finite minds would be if infinite consciousness is represented as the vast physical space of the universe, each of our finite minds would be like a room in a building. So that this room seems to be a separate space, and the dining room is a separate space, and your bedroom at home is a separate space, and my kitchen at home is a separate space. There seem to be all these separate spaces within the vast physical space of the universe. So the vast physical space of the universe would represent consciousness, or the infinite, and each of our finite minds is like a separate space. Now, when consciousness is limited or seems to be limited within the four walls of a body, when it seems to be imprisoned in a body, like this space seems to be imprisoned in the four walls of this room, a tension is set up in it. Why? Because the space is by nature infinite. I'm talking about physical space now. The physical space is by nature infinite. So if you enclose a part of that space, the part that's enclosed now feels that it's constrained, confined, limited. So what is the one thing the space in this room wants to do? It's just an analogy. It's not doesn't work completely. But the one thing the space in this room wants to do is to go back to its natural condition, to be free, to be unconfined, because it's been squashed. Something that is infinite has been squashed into a few square meters. Well, the finite mind is like that. The only stuff in the finite mind that corresponds to the space in this room is consciousness. But the finite mind is an apparently located consciousness, like the space in this room is an apparently located space. So what is the one thing that each of our finite minds wants to do more than anything else? That the core of the finite mind, what does it want to do? It wants to go back to what it truly is. It wants to go back to its natural state of equilibrium rather than feeling confined. So that's why at the core of all finite minds there is this impulse, this existential impulse, this longing, this desire to be whole, to cease being a fragment. And hence our desire, the reason why we desire objects is not for the sake of the object itself. The reason we desire an activity or a relationship is not for the sake of the activity or the relationship. It's because we believe that by acquiring those objects, activities, substances, relationships, we will be restored to our natural sense of equilibrium or peace or fulfillment or happiness. And then when those objects and substances don't work, we then refine our search, and we stop seeking in objects, substances, activities and relationships, and we start seeking in meditations and practices and teachers and teachings and so on. But for the same purpose, we no longer call our search the search for happiness, we rebrand it the search for enlightenment, It's the same thing. It's just that the finite mind's desire to go back to its natural state of equilibrium. And everything the finite mind does, everything that the apparently separate self does, is motivated by this core desire to be divested of its illusory limitations and to stand revealed as the infinite that it truly is.
But this impulse starts in the mind?
Yes.
Or?
Yes.
Or is Mary having
No,
a
don't bring
lucid
Mary
dream?
and Jane. They eloped. They've gone.
Okay. So the mind is not that limited then?
Well, the essence of the mind, or the nature of the mind, is pure consciousness, which is unlimited. But the mind is a mixture of infinite consciousness plus our limited thoughts, feelings, sensations, and perceptions, just as the space in this room is a mixture of the one vast space of the universe plus the four walls of this room. And this mixture of the vast space of the universe plus the four walls of this room makes an apparently limited space. Likewise, when infinite consciousness is mixed with the content of experience, that this amalgam forms, whose nature is pure consciousness, but which seems to be limited by the content of experience. And this mixture of consciousness plus the content of experience creates an illusory separate self, like this illusory separate space. And once the self has been confined, or seems to have been confined with or mixed with experience, it's always wanting to break free. Is there anybody in this room that doesn't love freedom? No, everybody loves freedom. Why? Because freedom is our nature. Is there anyone in this room that doesn't love, anyone in the world that doesn't love happiness? No, everybody, without exception, loves happiness. Why? Because happiness is our nature. Our desire for freedom, for happiness, for peace, for love is simply our desire to go back to our natural condition. Conflict, sorrow, agitation, depression. This is not our natural state. Nobody is born depressed. We're born free, open. So the desire for happiness, for peace, these are just names we give to our natural condition. And when our happiness or our peace or our freedom is taken away, when we seem to be constrained with or mixed with the content of experience, there is just this overriding impulse to shake off the limitations and to be returned to our natural condition. And as I've said a few times now this week, there's the conventional search for happiness in the world, objects, substances, and then there's the refinement of that conventional search, which we call it's no longer the search for happiness, we now call it the search for enlightenment. And the objects in which we seek enlightenment are a little subtler than the objects that in the world in which we seek happiness. But it's an extension of the same impulse to do something, to find something which will finally divest us of our limitations and return us to our natural condition.
Thank you.